Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of HRD 631, The Adult Learner. We're starting tomorrow, week number 8. And so I'd like to just give you an overview of what's involved this week and mention the assignment. There's a LRP due today. And I'll also mention when I plan on getting those all graded. So let's just plow right into the materials. Right now you're watching the video. The topics this week, this is to me a fascinating week in that we switch gears a little bit and we're going to be looking at critical theory, we're postmodern and feminist perspectives in adult learning. And each one of these, especially the feminist perspectives in adult learnings, is to me a very fascinating subject. And some of that stems from about 20 years ago. I was on a team that developed a program in Maine called Women in the Woods. And it was a program for women landowners that owned anywhere between 10 and 1,000 acres. And what the research has shown was that a lot of women across the country were the recipients of, or they became owners of woodlands or timberlands or woods out their backyard. They became owners of the property, but for many years, if they were married, their husbands took care of the property, so they knew nothing about it. So through the research, we uncovered that many women landowners were intimidated to attend, just say in Maine, it used to be the Maine Woodland Owners Association. It used to be the Small Woodland Owners Association. These were very heavily male-dominated meetings because a lot of the landowners in Maine and across the country that were actually responsible for the land were older white males. And so we developed a program called Women in the Woods, and it was based on the research about how women learn. And we could have a discussion, and we will have a discussion this week about what do you think about this idea that women learn differently, and what are some of the implications that we have as educators when it comes to setting up, conducting, facilitating adult learning for women, primarily women audiences. So I'm really interested in your ideas and thoughts, and I appreciate what you put down on the in the discussion post. So I can say I was working in an organization that had predominantly male foresters, wildlife biologists, and there was some pushback. There was some real pushback, including one of the I was going to call him a gentleman, but I won't go that far. One of the people that was in the audience, he was an older white male, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but he actually thought it was we were spending on money that we should not have spent money on, and his comment, which I'll never forget, had something to do with along the lines of a woman. I was participating in a kind of a retreat, excuse me, retreat for women woodland owners. And at the end of it, one of the women said that it was the first time she had ever been to a meeting like that where she felt like she could speak up. And this was a safe environment. And I brought that comment to our staff when I was doing training for our staff. And one of the people actually said, well, that's a self-esteem issue. You know, this person needs to really work on her self-esteem. It has nothing to do with how females learn. And I'll never forget that. Yes, there are a lot of commonalities between how male and females learn, but a lot of the research, especially in the book that came out called Women Ways of Learning or Women Ways of Knowing, it supported the idea that maybe women have a more collaborative approach to learning. And I won't say it's a male or a female type issue because, quite frankly, I have a very communal approach to learning also. So I'm interested in your thoughts, and when we get to the discussion forums this week, I really would like to see what you have to say about the subject. Okay, nuts and bolts. Read chapter 11 in our book. Now, I did, and there's an electronic reserve article on critical and postmodern perspectives in adult learning, electronic reserves. Now, last week I said we were going to be reading excerpts from this. Or book excerpts, one of 4 books. I decided I'm going to push this out. So if you want to get going or you want to read these, this really is about, when you're reading these, it's truly about learning about how others learn by reading about it. And you can take a stab at each one of these. My intent is to re-examine some of this later on in the course. Now, we have a very small course. We're going to have some extra time towards the end of the course, so I'd like to revisit this. But at this point, these readings that I did mention last week, we're going to part of this week, these are going to be optional. Optional, actually, in this week. Now, I may make them mandatory later on in the course, but for right now, this is not mandatory for week number 8. So I'd like you to view PowerPoint. We have some videos I'd like you to take a look at, participate in the discussion questions, and these really are on feminist pedagogy and women ways of learning. We have one assignment due today. I know there's been a couple that have been submitted already. I thank you for that. Once these are submitted, I'm going to try to get these all graded by the middle of the week. So if you have not submitted it, please do. We have a discussion forum, and these are the questions. And then an advanced organizer for next week. So that is it. There's some materials, PowerPoint, slide presentation for the materials this week, advanced organizers for next week, and then significant points for chapter 11. One other thing I just wanted to mention are the assignments. So the assignments and grading. Now we're well beyond weeks number 1 and 4. This week, I will put your grade in for the participation for weeks 1 through 4. At the end of this week, weeks 5 through 8, I will also grade that. And then, what's coming up? Well, we have an annotated bibliography and learning organizer coming up at the end of October. More participation, your learning autobiography coming up at the end of the course. And then we have, I'm going to go through this next weekend. We have the project facilitation coming up. So really what we have the annotated bib, which is due here. That really sets the stage for your exploration project. Now, once again, I'll have a specific information on this. This is 2 weeks from today. I will have considerable information next week, probably sooner. So that's where we are. We're making great progress. I hope you enjoy the materials this week. There's been a tremendous amount of material out in the press right now, stories about critical race theory. And, this ties in with critical theory that we're going to be studying this week. I hope you enjoy the materials. If you have any questions, any comments, concern, please let me know. I'm here to help, and I hope you have a fabulous week. See ya.